Hello, welcome to Virtual Flight Diaries. My name is John, and this is a tutorial series on the Boeing 777-300ER by PMDG. We're here at JFK International Airport in the International Terminal, and I'm going to start with powering up cold and dark. There's a lot of procedures with this plane, and I'm going to try to do a little more in depth, so I'm going to split this up into several videos. This one's going to be the power up. The next video is going to be uh, programming the flight management computer. So let's get started. So what we have here is a cold and dark setup. So normally, if you want a realistic flight, normally you would not arrive in the plane like this in this state. An engineer or somebody would have come on board and powered up the aircraft already, or the turnaround crew would have left it running. This plane actually likes to be run all the time. So, but since a lot of people like the cold and dark scenario, we're going to go with that. But my suggestion to you is that to get a more realistic experience, to do this power up procedure the first time, and then save the panel state. And I'll show you that real quick at the end of this video, how to save a panel state. So the first thing we want to do is make sure our ground services are connected. So here we can request our ground power unit because we're going to need that. And then we're going to request the jetway because it's just easier to get on and off the plane, right, guys? All right, so let's get connected. We're going to go and check out our door management. We're going to make sure all the doors are disarmed. Then we're going to open the second entry. As you can see here, this Boeing 777 loads from the second entry. You could put a stair here to simulate for the pilots to get out, do their walkarounds, but generally the jetway will open up to the second entry. So once our jetway is connected, we're going to make sure to see if we want to add some other stuff. You might want to do you could do galley requests or cargo, or you can bring in the maintenance van. You can add that stairway to the first entry. This is that panel for all ground operations. This is all the door management. You can open up the bulk cargo, the avionics access panels, aft cargo, all the entryways. You can open them all at the same time. You can close them all at the same time. It's however you want to work it. This panel is for an automatic turnaround. So you would turn this on for you would pick your type, short or long turn, and then you would put in your planned fuel, and then it would automatically go through all the steps, connecting the jetways, bringing in the fuel truck, so on and so forth. This takes about at least 55 minutes to an hour and a half. So this is just to give you a realistic turnaround. I did a GSX turnaround, and it does the 55-minute turn. So once that's all set up, we got our ground power unit. It should say that it's available. Right here, this is our ground power set. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to come up to our electrical panel. We're going to turn on the battery. The APU switch is the APU generator switch is always on. The thrust asymmetry compensation, that switch is always on. This is the generator switches for the backup. These are always on. Main generator switches are always on as well. You just leave these alone. A lot of automatics in this aircraft. All right, so battery power on. As you can see, nothing's really powered up yet. The battery can't manage all the systems, so that's why we're going to turn this on. So you're going to go primary and then secondary. That's the order. So we're going to fire up the primary. You can see the aircraft coming to life. Once you hear that clunk, you can turn on the secondary. And this is going to take a little bit. The sequence to power up all the screens and everything takes a minute or two. It's going to go through all its test runs. We have our FMCE. So we'll wait for that. We're going to continue with our flow. So we're going to come up here. So if you're familiar with the Boeing 737, you got the three nav switches, the ADIRs, the alignment switches. There's three of them. In this plane, it's just a button. So we're going to start our alignment. That takes about 8 minutes. And we're going to come over here. We're going to arm our emergency lights. And then we're going to turn on our window heat. So you can see here, this is a flow. We're going to go up, over, and then down. Hydraulics we're going to leave alone right now. You don't want to power up the hydraulics until you have confirmation from the ground team, the ground crew, that they're out of the way. Because once you power these up, things are going to start moving. So you're going to come down, you got the passenger signs, you're going to check them. You got no smoking. You can set this up to be no electronics. And passenger seatbelt signs. We're going to leave them off because we're not fueled up yet. This is your lighting panel. You can set your lighting up, and then this master bright switch will dim in all the lights. So you can just set up your panel for night, set the master bright switch, hit that button, that turns everything on. This is the storm, which will just light up a bright light on the panel when it's, when you're cloud cover. You can see the panels now have come to light. That took a minute. Next, we'll go to our landing lights. We're going to leave them off. And then we're going to come back up. We have our engine electrical mode. Let me get a better angle here. So you guys can see this whole panel. So you got the engine mode, which we're going to leave in normal and guard it. These are the start switches, and the auto start. We're going to leave auto start on. That's on for normal operations, and we're going to leave the starters in norm for now. We don't touch the fuel jettison panel, and right now for electrical startup, we don't need the fuel cross feeds. To make sure our nav lights are on, and we don't need any anti-ice. We'll leave our taxi lights alone and our strobe light alone for now. If it was dark out, we'd probably turn on our logo light as well. So air conditioning, this is the pack system. You're going to leave that on auto. You're going to leave that on. You pretty much don't touch any of this. Very automatic, almost like the 787 in the automation. You can set your temperature control. I leave it in auto. I personally like a little cooler cabin temp. Left pack, we leave auto. On and the trim air, we leave on. This is the bleed air system. We leave it all in auto. And the same with the pressurization system. So there's our flow up there. So that's the power up setup flow for the Boeing 777. So next we're gonna go across to our panel here. We're gonna turn on our flight directors. You can get your ATC right now, so then you can set your initial altitude and your runway heading. Get that set up. We're gonna come down here. Look here. We're gonna look to make sure everything looks good here. There's really not much we have to do here for the power up. Then we'll come down to our main pedestal panel just to make sure our switches are where we want them. And we can adjust our lighting. And that's the power up flow. So what I would do right now, so the next step is to fire up the APU. So depending on whether you're finished fueling or not, we'll fire up the APU. But what I would do with this is how you would encounter the aircraft at the gate. So you want to save it, right? So you go to PMDG setup. You go to state save. You type in the name of file name that you want. You know, my startup. Sounds good. And then you would plug it in here. And hit execute. And it will save this panel state. So then you successfully save. When I get that successfully saved, you can go back to setup. And then startup state. So then you would go here and it'll be now appear in right here, my startup. You would click that, hit execute, and now every time you start this plane, it'll come to this setting, exact settings you left everything at. It's just for for a more realistic experience, because generally speaking, this is how you receive the plane. So the final step of this, it doesn't have to be done immediately because it burns fuel, is to start up the APU. And that would be our final power up. Generally, I hold off till I'm fueled and, a lot of passengers are on board, because if you're sitting there at the gate with the APU running for an hour, you're going to burn a couple 100 pounds of fuel, which then can put your calculations off. So I hold off usually with this, but I just want to demonstrate for power up purposes. You just flick this over, the APU will start up. You'll see a run up. And then that puts air conditioning on board, but you can call for an air conditioning cart. So that's how you can leave the APU off and still keep the cabin cool. Takes a little bit for the APU to start. Just to show you, this is your status page, different panels. So you can see which one is it. The air. That's the APU battery. Oh, we can check with this. So we have the APU generators on. And we can see that the main battery is now charging. The secondary external power unit automatically disconnects because it's now receiving power from the APU. Once the APU, we can get the passenger and galley cabin set up, turned on. And that's a full startup, guys. So next you would go and start setting up the FMC. So we'll catch that in the next video. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. See ya.